Hey everyone, welcome back to White Sparrow Living, Luke 12:6. I'm Wendy and I'm so happy you're here. If this is your first time stopping by, welcome, and I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button down below as well as the little bell right next to it so that you can be notified every time I upload a brand new video. If you like these projects, don't forget to give them a thumbs up, comment, let me know what you think, and now, without further ado, let's get started. For our first Dollar Tree DIY, we'll be using a wood framed sign, a picture from the farmer's market calendar, and a pet feeding mat. And I just loved the shape of this mat and knew exactly what I wanted to do with it as soon as I saw it. So I took the sign out of the frame and I wasn't able to pull off the paper, so instead I used the back and just pulled off the hanger and sanded it down. And then I sanded the back of the mat so my chalk paint will adhere to it, and then painted them both with my Waverly chalk paint in white. Next, I painted some adhesive pop dots with my Waverly chalk paint in ink, which is really black, but I ended up using the wooden craft beads, the half ones from Amazon instead. So if you don't have those, these will work fine too. They'll just be a little bit smaller. So then I took my Dollar Tree furniture repair marker and gave my mat an enamelware look by just running it around the edges, which was super easy because it has that raised rim. And then I chose a picture from the calendar, and it happened that the lemons fit perfectly in the frame because it was longer horizontally. So I just measured it with the sign and cut it down to size, and then I sanded my frame and got all of the shiny stuff off and painted it with my black chalk paint as well. So here's where I decided to use my half wood beads, and I will have these linked in the description box below. And I had a sweet viewer recommend sticking these down on painter's tape to make them easier to paint. Next, I used a glue stick to attach my picture onto the sign, and I painted that white so that the brown wouldn't show through because these calendar pages are pretty thin, so it might peek through, and I wanted that to be pure white. And then once it's on there, I'm just going to replace it back into my frame. Then I measured to find the middle of my mat and marked it with a small pencil line, and then used some Dollar Tree Fix-All adhesive and some hot glue to attach it to my mat. Then I did the same thing with my beads on both sides of my sign. So now I'm going to make a sweet little bow with some 1.5 inch buffalo check ribbon from Hobby Lobby, and I just folded it in thirds, wrapped a piece of chenille stem around it, and covered that middle section with some Dollar Tree gingham ribbon, and then I'll dovetail the ends and hot glue that to the top of my sign, and it's done. And here's how it turned out, and oh my goodness, I am officially on the lemon train, friends. Now, if these were strawberries or watermelons, I would have been on those trains too, but it just worked out this way. I love it, and I hope you like it too. Today I'm teaming up once again with my beautiful and amazingly talented friend Linda at Faith Chick 777's DIY by Design. And if you're coming over from Linda's channel, thank you so much for stopping by. And if you like these projects, please feel free to hit that subscribe button and the thumbs up because it really helps our channel and we'd love to have you as part of our crafting family. Now, I may have told you before, I have been watching Linda for years and am always just in awe by her amazing creations, her faith, and her attention to detail. And she's actually the reason my lemon crush has reignited. And here's a sneak peek of what she made for this video. So as soon as you're done here, head on over to her channel and I'll of course have it linked in the description box below. So make sure to give her some love and let her know I sent you. For our next Dollar Tree DIY, this is such a super quick and easy project using this chunky wood round with the flat bottom. And I just removed the tags and the paper in front with my CRICUT spatula, and then I sanded both sides. And then using my Waverly chalk paint, I first gave it a base coat in white and then went around the top edge with the color Maize, which is this really pretty yellow. And I didn't wait for the white to dry because I wanted it to kind of blend together and give it a shaded look. And then to make the inside of the lemon, I made some triangular shapes in the middle, and then I just kept adding more white to give it some highlights and shading, and then some more maize to make it a little darker. And this was so much fun to do because you do not have to have any painting skills for this whatsoever, but the shading makes it look like we do. So then I painted the top with some more maize, and then once that was dry, I took a skewer and added some sweet little polka dots on there, and then sanded the edges to give it that rustic farmhouse distressing. So now I'm going to take some scrap leaves and glue them together, and then I'll glue them on the back toward the bottom so that they're perfectly peeking out. And then I made a sweet little bow and glued it nice and crookedy on the side right on top of those leaves. And I'll show you the whole vignette right after this final lemon DIY. So for this part, we're using a plastic cake plate, a candle holder, a vase, some yellow candles, some lemons, and a styrofoam wreath form. And there's kind of 3 DIYs in one here, but I first cut out a circle from some scrap foam board, and I'm gluing that right on top of my candle holder. And then again, I sanded my plastic to make sure my white chalk paint doesn't flake off and has a porous surface to adhere to. And then I also painted my candle holder. So since I was absolutely smitten with my enamelware lemon sign, I had to make a little something to go with it, which is why I made the wood lemon and now this tray arrangement. So I did the same enamelware finish with my furniture marker. And I love so much how it makes those scallops just pop. And then I just did 2 lines on the candle holder so it wouldn't be too busy. And I can't remember who all had recommended using these markers from Dollar Tree. There were a couple of you, but I just have to say thank you, thank you, thank you, because it is such a life changer and so much easier. So now I'm using my Fix-All and hot glue to attach my tray to the stand, and the bottom of the tray has some lifted lines in it, and the top of the candle holder didn't fit right. So by adding the foam board, it gave me a flat surface so that the glue would make full contact between them, and it won't be wobbly or wonky or anything like that. So this tray by itself is already super cutie patootie as is. So that could be a completed project right there that you can use for anything. But I want to lemony it up, so I cut my styrofoam ring in 4 pieces, and then using some Dollar Tree floral moss, I'm going to use some hot glue to cover my styrofoam on the top and sides, but I'll leave the bottom alone so that it sits flat on top of our tray. And I'm not going to glue these down because I definitely want to use this tray again. So then I started adding my lemons by poking a skewer in, and then broke it off and then poked it into the styrofoam. And this styrofoam is pretty hefty, so you do have to kind of muscle it in there. So once I got my lemons placed where I wanted them, I started adding some of these soft yellow wisteria stems, and they're kind of long, so I draped them around and used some pretty lamb's ear from Walmart, and then finally some of the yellow berry clusters from those Dollar Tree berry mix stems, and just dispersed them all throughout my ring. So now I'm making another sweet little bow using the fold over method, and I made 2 loops on each side and then 1 big loop at the bottom for my tails. And that was another tip from a sweet viewer, and I think you guys teach me more than I'm teaching you. So then I made tiny little slits right in the middle and wrapped a chenille stem around the center area of my bow, and I made sure that it went right through those slits so I can move my loops around. And then I cut my big loop to make my tails and attached it to the side of my ring. So now for the middle of our tray, I'm taking my yellow candles and melting that wax in the microwave, and it took 7 minutes for each one to completely melt. So I used a total of 2.5 yellow ones and 1 white candle, and not even the whole white candle, just a little bit. And as you can see, I taped one of the wicks to a skewer and then placed it in the middle. And then once the yellow was hardened, I added some white to the top of that, and I thought I was done. But I noticed it didn't look exactly like the lemon idea I was going for. So I had to get a second opinion from our daughter Kennedy to see if she was seeing what I was seeing. Ken, come here. I need your advice.
Yes, Mom.
Polka dots or no polka dots?
Polka dots.
Did you see that?
Yeah. good with the white on top.
But I have to put some more yellow at the top, a real skinny piece.
Why? Oh.
Well, what does it look like?
Yeah, beer.
So I was right, but I added that top layer of yellow and now it kind of looks like a lemon trifle dessert cup. But I still think it's super cute, and I could also call this another DIY by itself. But I love this whole lemony vignette, and I hope you guys like it too. For our final Dollar Tree DIY, I'm using 2 long wooden signs, 2 long skinny chunky signs, 2 decorative cutting boards, and I was going to use a plunger handle, but I forgot to measure my box first, and then 2 wire baskets. So in another video, I had Michael J cut some of these signs into strips. So I'm technically using 1.5 because I used 6 pieces total. And then I pulled the paper off of my 2 signs, and then I measured the length of my teal wood pieces instead of my plunger, but that'll make sense in just a second. So the teal pieces will tell me how long I need to make this bottom, and then I'm going to take my cutting boards, and a sweet viewer, Bryn, sent this to me, and I had another one, so I'm using these as the sides of my garden box, and then cutting down the signs to be the bottom, and then the long skinny teal pieces will be the sides. So I just cut my welcome signs down using a utility knife, and then I glued those pieces together and used 2 popsicle sticks to give it some more support. And then I'm attaching the bottom side pieces to that by drilling pilot holes with my drill and then adding some nails to hold it down. Now for this whole project, I was using nails, but ended up pulling them all out and replacing them with screws to make it more sturdy. So if you do this project, just use some smaller wood screws. And I also had problems with the wood splitting because my screws were too big and my drill bit was too big. I was just a mess. I needed help on this, but I didn't have a second set of hands. And Michael J was a little bit out of order. So then I took my wire baskets and cut the top and bottom rings off so I could cut down the mesh and then use that for the sides. And it's always a little bit pokey where you cut that mesh apart. So I just folded that edge down and then used my staple gun to attach it to the inside of my side rails. And then to take care of my splitting wood issue, I just added some spackle, and you can't see it once it's painted. So here's where I realized my handle is too short now. So I used a mop handle instead. Thank goodness I have a mini Dollar Tree in my garage. And I cut it down and then used the end of the handle from a second mop to slide onto the other end once I feed it through the 2 holes of my cutting boards. So once I finally had it all together, I took it outside to spray paint, and then, yep, that was a fail too, because that MDF or particle board or whatever it is, it just sucked up the paint. So I had to paint it by hand, which wasn't that bad, and it didn't take too long. So now I'm going to take these super cute signs from the Dollar Tree, and this was actually an afterthought because originally I was going to make some decals for the signs, but they were exactly the right size. The two farmers market ones were the exact square shape that I needed to fit inside these cutting board pieces that are lifted. So I'm just going to place those right in the middle of those cutting boards. Well, one will be right in the middle because I'm looking into the camera to do this side so you guys can see it. And I totally missed the mark on that one. And then I put the round one on the front, and yep, I got that one a little crookedy too. I'm telling you guys, I was just a mess. And then to distress it, I used my handy dandy marker again. So originally I was going to distress my Dollar Tree garden tools and pots, but then decided they were pretty cute the way they were, so I just popped them inside, added a couple of fake plants, and it's done. And here it is, all finished. I am so super glad I stuck with this and powered through the mishaps because this is one of my favorite projects. And I didn't love how long the handles were at first, but then when I added all of the goodies and my straw hat, I just fell in love with it. And my Dollar Tree carrots next to it, oh my word, I just love it. And I hope you guys like it too. I ended up having to cut out my new Patreon member shout outs and some perky prize that I received, and I really wanted to share with you, but this video was getting a little too long, so I will make sure to fit those in next time. Don't forget to head over to Linda's video. Thank you all so much for watching. I love and appreciate every single one of you. I hope everyone has a blessed day, and remember to always be the light. Bye. Why do I go up 2 octaves to say bye?